Today we are talking about our only African champion, Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus Du Plessis has a very anticipated fight coming up against Khamzat Chimaev in my opinion, one of the more exciting fights of the summer. I really don't know how it's going to play out. However, Dricus Du Plessis has shown glimpses of weirdness and madness and absolute awkwardness. We've seen the memes: Dricus by banana peel, Dricus by anvil, Dricus by black hole, Dricus by brick wall, Dricus by that's not me, that's a clone, Dricus by whatever. We have seen all the memes, and there's a reason why people make those jokes about Dricus, and it's because of the weird fighting style that he has. However, I do think there is definitely a method to his madness. Let's first talk about his timing in general. The ability to be unpredictable, and Tony Ferguson did that to a T. He was very unpredictable as well, and Dricus has that ability to just be so weird that you just don't know when to defend or when to attack. Sean Strickland had a moment of just pure staring at Dricus Du Plessis in the second fight. And yes, Sean Strickland has moments of not throwing the volume that he should be. However, Dricus in that fight showed that being so weird can just leave you staring at somebody. And Dricus has that ability because of just how awkward his timing is. However, one thing about his timing that I think is elite is his ability to counter people. He has an incredibly creative lead leg that goes through all 3 points of the body. And with that kick, he either switches into the kick or fully steps into the kick. And that leads me to my next point, which is the Dricus blitz. We've seen it. It's what kind of makes his method to madness kind of funny. It's the weird Dricus overhand, walk him down and walk him down and steal his lunch. He lands every single time with this blitz. And what's weird about this blitz is that it's not your traditional blitz. Guys like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Michael Venom Page has what is called a traditional by the book blitz. When they do switch into stances while throwing their combos, they are switching fully into their stance. They're switching from orthodox fully into southpaw, or southpaw fully into orthodox. What Dricus is doing wrong in his blitz is he is sometimes just walking straight and squared to people while he's doing it. Dricus gets caught a lot blitzing. Israel Adesanya caught him a lot. He had that spinning back elbow that was beautiful. Darren Till had the elbows and the cross that was landing. Chimaev, in my opinion, is going to have a blast double leg if Dricus is squared up to him. One thing that is super effective about Dricus Du Plessis' blitz is the fact that it's going to lead to one thing, and it's colliding into you. Dricus is going to meet you head on, and what is he going to do from there? He has a very underrated clinch game and a judo background since the age of 5. Dricus Du Plessis has an incredible wrestling game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he shoots a takedown on Chimaev. I know that sounds absolutely insane. However, Dricus Du Plessis is insane. He is the type to shoot a takedown on Chimaev, and he has shown glimpses of takedowns. He shot a takedown on pretty much everybody in his career. What's to say that he won't shoot a takedown on Chimaev? Daniel Cormier, in his most recent episode of Tough, which, by the way, he is an incredible coach, he talks about a wrestler being on his back and how weird that is for a wrestler, especially such a dominant wrestler. Khamzat Chimaev, we have never seen on his back. Who's to say that Dricus puts him on his back, and then it's such a weird narrative from there? Does Chimaev wrestle after that? The psychology and the mind games from there just leads to so many different things. However, it's a lot easier said than done against Chimaev, and Chimaev is proven to be one of the best middleweight wrestlers and welterweight wrestlers we have ever laid our eyes upon. So a lot easier said than done. However, the Ducus and the Looney Tunes of Dricus can definitely do it. That's him offensively that I want to talk about. I want us to talk about his defensive nature and his defensive high guard. His high guard is prominent throughout all of his UFC career. His hands never go down. John Anik against Israel Adesanya even joked around saying Dricus must sleep with his hands up because his hands just never really fall. And against Chimaev, that is obviously a big issue. If the hands are at your head, where is Chimaev going to be in that takedown? Your hands need to be down at some point. Does Dricus change his high guard? Does Dricus do something differently? If I was in Dricus's corner, I would really look at the JDM versus Bilal Muhammad fight, because JDM did a wonderful high guard and defending by colliding head-on with Bilal Muhammad's takedowns. A lot easier said than done once again, but that could very well be a game plan given Dricus Du Plessis' nature of just dipping down in general. He might meet head-on to Chimaev's takedowns, and it might look goofy, but it might also be a game plan. With people saying Chimaev should strike against Dricus Du Plessis, it's weird because the high guard can then be very good for him. Dricus has a high guard that will block any punch, and Chimaev does have the power to put anyone out. Who's to say Chimaev doesn't try to strike and actually mix in his variety of MMA? It's a lot easier said than done, but the high guard is something that can be used by Dricus very effectively. Also, one last thing, in terms of his defensive nature, he has a tendency when he does get backed up to spring off of this cage. He's done it a lot. Against Trevin Giles, it worked out. He springed into a knockout, knocked out Trevin Giles clean. Against Darren Till, he threw a Superman punch as well. Against Adesanya, he had the infamous overhand into an ankle pick. But it happens from him getting pressured and back into the cage. And just naturally, when he backs into the cage, Dricus just wants to attack from there. He springs off of the cage. That can be a ton of issues against Chimaev, because if you spring into, let's say, a double leg, you're not going to be able to really defend it. Chimaev has an easy double leg that you are running into pretty much. I also want to take you back, all the way back to Dricus's last loss. Yes, it's not even in the UFC. However, Roberto Soldic knocked out Dricus, and it came from springing off of this cage. And I think that's when Dricus has been the most susceptible, is when people like Roberto Soldic do what they do. Usually when people spring, when Dricus springs off of the cage, people walk backwards, people defend. Roberto Soldic did not. Roberto Soldic threw a knee into a hook, knocking out Dricus Du Plessis, and the plot armor being broken. At some point, it has been broken. And it came from people countering Dricus, whether it came from the blitz or the springing off the cage. People have countered Dricus and has hit on Dricus, has hurt Dricus. Dricus has had moments where the technique and the madness finally gets caught up to him. His athleticism is unmatched. I can't explain to you the mistakes that he made in all of these fights that I rewatched. He made so many mistakes that anyone else in this middleweight division would get knocked out, taken down, or controlled for. However, Dricus just has the ability to get out of it. It's other superhuman his strength, and it's other superhuman how big he is for this division. The plot armor can definitely be accompanied to the overall strength and the weight bully he is in this division. My official prediction for this fight, I'm gonna pick Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat is just way too talented, and the wrestling is going to show dividends, and it's gonna show that there's levels to this. However, let me just say this real quick. I have picked the opposite of Dricus Du Plessis since Trevin Giles. I have not been right at all against Dricus Du Plessis. I have picked him against Darren Till. I thought Darren Till was going to counter him up and lay him out. Against Robert Whittaker, I thought, no chance you're going to beat one of the greatest middleweights we have ever laid our eyes upon. One of a cult hero like Robert Whittaker. Adesanya, I thought, no chance. The striking of Adesanya was going to tear him apart. Is Sean Strickland twice, I thought. The jab of Sean Strickland. There was no chance a guy like Dricus who blitz forward like that is going to stop the straight forward pressure of Sean Strickland. He did it twice. I've been wrong about Dricus Du Plessis. The plot armor of his is unmatched. It is absolutely otherworldly. Dricus Du Plessis can definitely win this by an anvil, and I wouldn't be surprised. Dricus has the opportunity to be one of the middleweight greats. If you look at the resume, he is in the same limelight, in my opinion, as the Adesanyas. He has now Adesanya, Sean Strickland twice, great win against Robert Whittaker. That is now 4 very clean wins. And then you add Khamzat Chimaev. That is a resume that is otherworldly. And I don't think other guys in this middleweight division like Borhalo or Imavov can beat DDP, especially if he somehow finds a way to beat Chimaev. But once again, when Borhalo, if say DDP fights Chimaev and he beats him, and then he fights Borhalo, and I'm going to sit here and say Borhalo is going to piece him apart. DDP is going to win that. And say he fights Imavov. I'm going to say Imavov too fast. DDP is going to win that. So it's going to be unpredictable, and I am damn sure excited for this fight. It is one of my more anticipated fights ever since it got announced. I don't know how it's going to end, and to be honest, if Chimaev beats him in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised. If Dricus finds his way into doinking Chimaev, I wouldn't be surprised either. I can never not be surprised when I watch Dricus Du Plessis fight. It's going to be the plot armor of Dricus Du Plessis versus the bear and the lone wolf and the marauding Chimaev. Leave your comments or any predictions of this fight because I am so invested. It's been Santi. It's been Stud.